Sudden infant deaths, cot deaths, or crib deaths, they're basically defined as any unexpected deaths in infancy. And infancy is basically the time period of the child after the birth and less than 1 year of age. So this time period is basically known as the infancy period or the infant period. And any deaths that occur between these infancy period or under the 1 year of age, the child hasn't attained 1 year of age, and the death is basically unexplained even after a complete necropsy has been performed on such a baby, and a complete investigation of the crime scene has been done. There are no evident causes while you are investigating such a case. Even when the practitioners or the investigating officers visit such a nursery or such a crime scene, they don't have any clues over there of any external suffocations or any foul play. They don't have any clues to that. So these deaths can be put under the terminology of sudden infant death syndrome, abbreviated as SIDS, or it can also be abbreviated as SUD, that is the sudden unexpected deaths. All of these basically come under 1 year of age. Now, whenever we are talking about under 1 year of age, it's basically the neonatal period has gone by. So the neonatal period, as you can define it, 3 weeks after the birth is defined as the neonatal period. And this neonatal period has gone by without any symptoms, without any signs of any natural diseases that the baby must be suffering from. But of course, there can be some causes that can be detected afterwards whenever you start your investigation upon taking a complete history. Sometimes the history will reveal sibling deaths similar to this SIDS, that is the sudden infant death syndrome, or sometimes any close relatives will give you a history of SIDS. So these are basically, they can have a congenital link. So we have to have a complete history in such, whenever we are carrying out such investigations. Now, once the history taking is done, the complete examination of the baby is again very important over here. We have to have the complete examination of the baby whenever we are considering the sudden infant deaths in infancy. So there are a lot of risk factors, and we have to look for these risk factors when such a death has occurred. For example, the age and gender. So we'll be discussing what age group is more prevalent, or what age group is more predisposed to such sudden infant death syndromes. And then gender is another factor that comes into play. Basically when the males are more predominantly exposed to such deaths. Now, twinning is another phenomena that comes into play. So we'll be discussing that also. Seasonal incidence is again very important, and sometimes it is a very important risk factor over here. So moreover, the social class of the family, it's again investigated in detail. There are a lot of diseases that are prevalent in a certain social class, so we'll be discussing that also over here as a risk factor for SIDS or SUD. So housing is again very important. We'll be discussing even the environment of the house, the temperature of the nursery in which the baby was put. These are all the leading causes, and they'll be basically contributing towards the death of the infant. So we'll be discussing that, all of this over here, the causative factors, all of them will be discussed over here. Now, in this basically diagram, this is showing you the mortality rate of the individuals, and the blocks are basically emphasizing upon the SIDS over here. This is the blocks, and this is emphasizing when the SIDS occur, and this circle is basically emphasizing upon the congenital anomalies. So the number of deaths which occur due to the congenital anomalies is quite higher because it is quite highly located in this graph. And when we look over here, the SIDS is quite in a low state over here. As the age passes on, the causes of death are quite evident over here. But we have to basically, the highlighted point or the crux of this diagram is basically that the congenital anomalies are going to be a predisposing factor over here. But we have to emphasize on the fact that as the child grows, as the neonatal period has gone by and the child has been hale and healthy even after the neonatal period, so these congenital anomalies can just contribute a little bit towards the death of the, can prove fatal just a little bit for the individual. So we'll put these congenital anomalies as a secondary cause of death whenever we'll be writing down autopsy report for such individuals. Now the gender. Moving on to the gender, basically the males are more predisposed to such a death. A slight weighting against the male infant, it's slightly weighted, but it depends upon the regions. In a lot of regions, males and females are equally affected from these sudden infant death syndrome. So we cannot only just say that the males are affected by such a condition. Now the indigenous populations lack this, such as in a lot of African countries, we see that this male indigenation is quite not over there. And so it's just after the researches and after a lot of research work has been done, it proves that the males are more predisposed to such conditions. Now, twinning is another phenomena that we see, and twinning can be a risk factor in such cases of sudden infant death syndrome. This is due to the fact that usually twinning is a process. In the twinning process, what happens is that one of the twins is more stronger than the other one, and so the weaker one is basically predisposed to such sudden infant deaths or sudden unexpected deaths. That is the basic cause over here. Now, the excess of deaths in a member of a twin pair. So there is basically notification that in the twinning, this process is more common. After a lot of research work, this has been concluded, and the risk at least is almost twofold. So that is basically quite a lot of a figure. And so twinning is a very important risk factor over here. Physically disadvantaged infants, for example, premature births or the low birth weights is again a risk factor over here whenever we are discussing twinning, or it can be even without the twinning process. Now, the seasonal variance of the SIDS is again very important. As you can see, the incidence rises in the months of the February, March, and April, and it basically goes down in the summer months. So winter is a season that basically predisposed and is more harsh for the infants as well over here. So we have to basically emphasize on this fact that the seasonal incidence is again very important. Now, whenever we are discussing the social class and the housing, it's again very important that we see that there are a lot of epidemiological factors over here that we have to concentrate upon. That is the environmental factors, they come into play. Then the social disadvantages, there again over there, the people belonging to the low socio-economic class, they are more predisposed to such conditions. Now, occupation is another factor that can be occupation of course, the parents is again very important because the children can be exposed to certain toxic substances that can prove to be fatal for the infants. Housing quality is again very important. So whenever you are investigating such a case, just have a look at the housing quality and all of the other conditions, environmental factors that come into play when SIDS occur. So in this section, basically, we summarized the risk factors over here that can predispose an infant to SIDS or SUD. That is the end to this section. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.